Hey guys, this is Shakti from Around the Wicket, where we not only speak about the game, but we try to learn more about the humans behind our sport. Now, South African cricket has a rich history and has been led by some of the greatest to have played the game. You know, you can name them in your fingers: Graham Smith, Jacques Kallis, Hashim Amla, AB de Villiers, and our guest today, Johan Botha, had also the privilege of leading South Africa. He has a record of 76% win-loss ratio in short form of the game in one days and T20 internationals. He has also represented South Africa 123 times across formats. And today he will join us and tell us about his story. Johan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So how are you going? How's things in Adelaide?
Adelaide, well, with regards to COVID and all of that, is pretty good. It's been, settled for quite a long time now. The kids have basically missed 1 week of school this whole year. Everything on that front's been pretty good. Cricket sort of starting to pick up again. I know the great guys are starting this coming weekend. Obviously, the Shield bubble is on at the moment. So today, the second round of games started. So that's a good sign. I think things are starting to move around a little bit. Obviously, Adelaide's in a good space if teams can come here and sort of be in the cricket bubble. So that's good to see.
In terms of your early background, obviously before moving to Australia, you were in South Africa. Tell us about your upbringing, how you chose cricket as a sport.
I've got an older brother and sister, and they used to play a lot of backyard cricket. So I think that's sort of where it started for me. They're sort of 7 and 11 years older than me, so I was quite a bit younger. Never really got to bat or bowl. I was always the fielder early days, and then it sort of started growing from there. Obviously, they got bigger, started, going their own way, and my brother played, decent level cricket. And then my dad was always involved in the cricket club, and I would just have my bag in the car. So if anyone didn't pitch up in any grade level, I was just there. I would probably bat 11, wouldn't bowl, just wanted to be on the field. So that's how it really started. And then when I sort of got to my age group cricket, then I could, start playing my own game from about 8 years, I would say. Start playing under 9 cricket. That's how it started. I think, my dad he was more into rugby and he was really good at rugby. But for me, it was always cricket. I enjoyed it. I don't know. It's just, obviously people ask, well, why do you want to stand on the field all day when you can just play for sort of 70 minutes? But that sort of intrigued me, just the thinking behind it. Just probably were okay at it, and sort of kicked off from there and just kept going through the age groups till eventually professional cricket.
Yeah, and people still ask me, how can you play for 5 days and yet not get a result? So cricket is a funny game. I guess we can start talking about your international test debut here in Australia at the SCG. Obviously, South Africa posted a pretty solid first innings total on the back of Jacques Kallis' century and Ashwin Prince's century. But then, came against inspired Ricky Ponting, who scored back-to-back centuries. Tell us about your test debut and being chucked into the deep end and against a very, very strong Australian team.
Yeah, that was a really good Australian team. Probably a little bit about the background in the game. Like you said, good first innings by South Africa. Obviously, Australia batted really well. And I know I only came into that game, but we were 1-0 down in the series and tried to make something of it. And a whole day was lost to rain. I think it was day 3 or 4. The wicket didn't really break up and those types of things. I think we said Australia 280 in about 90 overs or 80 overs. So, it wasn't a huge chase on still a very good wicket, and Ponting playing really well. We sort of forced the game a little bit to try and at least even the series, but they played really well. knocked the score off and sort of won the series 2-0. So, credit to our guys for having a crack at it. A lot of guys would just not give the other team any chance and sort of take the 1-0 and move on. But, the leadership group wanted to try and make a game of it. And, in sort of the modern game, 280 in 80 overs isn't a lot on a good wicket. Not a wearing wicket, not a subcontinent wicket. It was still pretty good because I think the day before it was pretty much undercover for the whole day. So just sealed it. And, once they got through the new ball, it was a really good wicket.
Yeah, South Africa, I think, were 6 down in that, 3rd innings of that test match. I think Ricky Ponting and Matthew Hayden, who helped Australia register a second victory. On a personal front, however, how was the experience, playing at the SCG in your first test match?
Yeah, that's sort of, when you're young, you don't always take all of it in. You think, it's nice, it's just part of the game. But, I don't really remember a lot about it. I can just remember all of a sudden there's a lot more hype. Guys come and actually watch you prepare the morning in the nets. So, there's crowds around there already. When 4-day domestic cricket, there's no one in the ground. So all of a sudden, a lot more interest, spectators, obviously some of the great commentators around the world in the commentary box talking about the game. So yeah, that sort of creates that whole atmosphere and, that special feeling. But yeah, they probably at the time didn't realize just how big it is now, especially to, make a test debut, especially at the SCG. So yeah, sort of think, I should have made a little bit more of it, but that's the way it was. I'd only been bowling spin for about a year, so things did happen pretty quick. I only played a 1-day series that November in India, so I was only happy with 1-day cricket, T20s, and it was a bit of a surprise when South Africa made the call, left Nicky Buya out for that 3rd test. So yeah, things did happen pretty quick. I think I arrived in Australia sort of the 28th or 29th of December and played 3 days later. So things happened very quick. Yeah, but it's still, it's a memory that you will remember for a long time. And yep.
You stated that you were only a spin bowler for about a year before you made your test debut. I guess one of South Africa's greatest ever coaches, and Mickey Arthur, and yourself had a pretty good relationship. You started off as a medium pacer, and then yourself and Mickey worked out that spin bowling is probably something that you should take up. How did the decision come about?
Yeah, I had a back injury. Like I said, probably a year and 2 or 3 months before that test match. So if we have to backtrack a little bit, and it was sort of the thinking: do I change my seam bowling action? And to be fair, I probably would only have been a first-class cricketer, bowling sort of medium pace, low 130s, and never really quick enough, I would think, to sort of play test cricket. I might have played some 1-day T20s. Down the track, but South Africa had so many quick bowlers that it didn't really look an option at that stage. And then, as I said, Nicky was probably the only sort of frontline spinner at that time. And Mark Boucher was around, and Justin Kemp and Mickey Arthur, and they sort of said, "Why don't you give this a go?" Sorry, because before that, I would sort of mess around with it a little bit in the nets. I think I bowled in the game probably twice in the 4th innings when nothing really was happening, just a few overs just to see what was happening. And that's probably where they saw it and they said, you know what, this might be your way if you can change things. So that's really how the decision came about, just with a lack of spin bowlers. And I had to make a decision: do I still just bowl medium pace, or do I try and change things up?
And talking about spin bowling, obviously, it's well publicized that you had some struggles with your action being sighted, and you had to remodel your action. the delivery that probably came into question was the other one, or the dusra they call it. Tell us about how challenging this period was, and what's the process like when it comes to remodeling your action.
Yeah, I think part of the problem was probably not a grooved action, because like I said, I came from seam bowling, and then just sort of made my own thing up. I didn't have a spin bowling coach, and no one had really questioned it before that test match. So I thought it was all okay. I played in India series against India, so we thought, oh, that's all good. But as you said, that came up. And yeah, it's a different type of pressure. It's not you competing with batsmen anymore. It's you competing for your career. So there was a lot of pressure through that period. I just left it from that Feb after the Tri Series with Sri Lanka. I didn't, try and fix anything. I left it for about 3 or 4 months. Then went to the Sports Institute in Cape Town from about the last week of April or May that year, and sort of went back there every 3 weeks. So put all the markers on, try different things, and if we thought we found something, we stuck with that for the next 3 weeks and came back 3 weeks later to retest and see if there was any improvement. And we must have done that 3 or 4 times. And that was great from Cricket South Africa. They helped me a lot. I know those tests weren't cheap. You had a test book through the ICC. I think around that stage it was $5,000. So it was an expensive exercise, but thankfully the Sports Institute, Professor Tim Noakes, and his crew helped me through that phase. So we sort of worked through that. But in saying that, in that time, 2 or 3 or 4 spin bowlers went past me. So I was back in the back of the queue, and from the time I got out of cricket, it took me 18 months to get back into the team. And that wasn't my action. Action was fixed within 6 months, but back of the queue, you've got to sort of prove yourself again. Yep, prove and compete just on the main stage again. And guys went past me, and I had to sort of fight my way back into it. But it was definitely a character builder over that time, and it's helped me throughout. There were probably a couple of sort of issues again down the track, but I must say, probably 2015 maybe, I had a good session with the South African analyst at that stage. I was in Australia already, but he came over with the South African team for T20 series, and we've sort of been in contact, what I can work on, what I can improve on, and we had a good hour in the Adelaide Nets, and he showed me a couple of things, and since then I think my action's been the best it's ever been. So that was sort of a nice period, because from then on, I didn't have to worry about my action. I knew it was all clear, and then I could just compete with batsmen. But in the 5, 6, 7 years before that, it's in the back of your mind. How did it look today? All that type of stuff. It wasn't just about competing. It was all about how it looked. Because like I said, it's a different pressure, and I think that's a skill, and that's something that coaches should definitely look at. They should not let a bowler get to that level before making sure, asking questions about it. The guys should never get there, because once it's there, it never goes away. It doesn't matter how good your action is. Opposition, commentators, crowd never let up. They will always talk about it, mention it, even if your action is as good as it's ever been. Guys will just always ask questions about it. So, I think that's the thing where sort of at younger age groups, 14, 15, 16, that has to be fixed already. And I think, that's where coaches need to step in and not just, this guy's bowling well, let's just continue. But then when he gets to the big stage, guys kick him out the back.
Another thing is probably if you get into a habit as well, it's quite hard to actually change and modify. So like you mentioned, coaches should get on board and try and ensure that the legalities of the game, I guess, is upheld. I stated at the start that you shared the dressing room with some great players, Graham Smith, Jacques Kallis, Hashim Amla, AB de Villiers, Dale Steyn. What was your experience like sharing the room with these guys, and out of these players and more that I have probably not stated, who was a cricketer you looked at and said, this guy is something special?
Yeah, I think Jock was always, sort of the standard. He could do anything. He can catch, he can bowl, he can bat, as well as anyone that's ever played the game. So in that era, I watched him growing up. Not that much, but sort of, age 16 to 22, he's, the leading all-round in the world, and you watch him, and then all of a sudden, you're in the same dressing room. Mackay Ntini is another one, Sean Pollock's another one. AB is even younger than me, so AB was sort of not quite hitting his straps yet. He was opening the batting in Test cricket, probably averaging 25. So talented, but didn't quite nail it yet. But you knew that something was there. And he obviously got it together. He moved to a more comfortable position, sort of 4 or 5, which suited him, and he's become a great player. So, those guys are the obvious standouts. Then you have nitty-gritty players, Ashwell Prince. Graham was another one. Not two guys with the best technique, but they just got the job done. But I sort of missed out playing with my age group. When I came to Australia, guys came through. JP Duminy, Hashim Amla, Faf, AB, Morne Morkel. Albie was a year older than me. So those are all the guys that I sort of grew up with and played against. So I played with guys much older than me. So that was probably the unfortunate bit. I wish I'd played more with sort of my age group and at that time. But, I still learned a lot from the older guys, and, just took it throughout my career.
And what was the biggest lessons that you learned?
Obviously, there's a lot, how to handle certain situations. I think from JK, it was always his precision in training. He didn't really waste the practice. He either practiced 100% or hit the ball in the middle of the bat, even if it was just gentle throwdowns. He was always very precise. I think that must have been from his dad teaching him when he was growing up, very precise in his training. And obviously, when you get older and more comfortable in your game, that comes through, where if you're young, you just want to train every session and think every session is going to make you better, but sometimes you probably go backwards in a session. But watching him, it was very precise, and sort of the last 4 or 5, 6 years of his career, he wouldn't train the day before a game. He would just make sure all his kit was perfect, 100%, that tomorrow when he came to the ground and it was game time, he could just trust that everything was ready to go. Then with AB, it was, you don't see any of those shots in the nets. It was just about how late he hit the ball. And then obviously he's happy with, how he's watching the ball, his contact point. And then in the game, he could, go in any direction. So it just shows you the difference, that the guys just make sure that their basics was 100%. And then in the heat, they could turn it on if they wanted to.
I guess another aspect of your cricketing resume is your leadership, and you got the leadership role for South Africa, captaining them in the one days and T20s after Graham Smith handed it over to you. How did this leadership come about? Because knowing, as you stated, that there were so many other players there in the team that could have also taken that role of captaincy.
Yeah, that winter before that Australian 2009 series, because the guys were already here for the test match, just that winter, I came over for the South African emerging team, and I was captain in that. And that was even a bit of a surprise. You had Justin Ontong, Robin Peterson was in there. So, guys a bit older than me who had played way more first-class cricket than me. So, I was sort of a little bit surprised then already. And Graham broke his hand in that Sydney test, and I thought, they might go to a Callis, they might go to not Gibbs really, they might go to a Boucher, or Neil McKenzie. He was even in the team, and he was the Lions captain back in South Africa. So I thought, I'll just come in and play some one days. And Mickey phoned me just before the tour, or the one day guys came over, and he said, do you want to do this? So at first I was, sort of a bit hesitant. It was a bit of a shock. Do I take it on with all those experienced players around me. And then I just thought, it's a great opportunity. He's obviously backing me, and just went for it. And to be honest, I don't think those guys really wanted the leadership. They just wanted to worry about their own games, bat, bowl, and not have to worry about that, especially in Australia. The crowds are relentless. You play against a good team. They don't let up. And I must say the first two T20s were tough. David Warner's debut in Melbourne, they outplayed us by a long way. We weren't never in the game. Brisbane, we just lost. We had a chance to get Hussey out early, but he steered them home. And so, everyone thought that Australia would just walk all over us in the one-day series. And we actually won that series 4-1. So, that was a good turnaround. And sort of that's where the leadership really took off. And, teams I played in are sort of always, not always, but they thought, I'm a good sort of assistant if I'm not captain. And that's what I've tried to do. I think captaincy has been really good for my game. Like I said, with the bowling action stuff, when I captain, I feel I just have to worry about everyone around me and their games, and not be just focused on my game. How's everything looking in my game? Where, you focus on everyone around you, and then, your game just sort of tags along and picks it up. Obviously, you have to put in the work. You can't just not practice and be like a manager at training, but it's all about your teammates. Are they good? Are they ready to go? And I like that.
Yep, your record speaks for it. Like I said, you've got a pretty good record in terms of win-loss in one days and T20s. Do you feel though that you were pigeonholed into becoming a short form player? And did you ever envisage that you wanted to play a little bit more of the longer format?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have played more. My last test, my first test I was man of the match in the game. So, it was a little bit of a surprise when I didn't get picked ever again. I think one of my main goals was to play test match in South Africa, which I never did. That was sort of one of the main things. I wanted to experience that. All my tests were outside the country. One in the West Indies, a couple in UAE, I think 2 in Bangladesh. So yeah, that was sort of the one thing missing. Obviously not spinning assisted wickets, but for batting wise and all of that, and crowd, and that would have been great to play in South Africa. And I think that's sort of one of the main reasons why I ultimately came to South Australia, was to give 4-day cricket another really good go before the end of my career. Because while I played international cricket for South Africa, and as you said, all the one-day and white ball stuff, I would have played probably 4 or 5 4-day games in a 3-year period, because we were always just busy with white ball stuff. So, when this opportunity came up, I thought, I want to play in a country where obviously Test cricket is huge. Everyone wants to play Sheffield Shield cricket to play for Australia. And, I wanted to give it a real go and learned a lot. My first year, I sort of was very much a defensive bowler, didn't get many guys out, but worked hard that winter and had a really good second and third season. So it was nice for my game to sort of learn more about it on good wickets, on really good wickets, to try and get guys out, and obviously decent first-class players. So that was one of the main reasons for coming here. Where before that, like I said, it was a handful of 4-day games in a 3-year period because of, all the white ball stuff.
Yeah. Were you ever close to selection for South African, 5-day team, I guess, after coming to Australia?
No. I think once sort of they decide, or once I decided to come here, they thought, "Oh, that's it. We're never going there again." And you sort of get that. You want guys to buy into your culture and your team building or all of that. The cricket hasn't done that yet, where they go to other guys. Like 2015 World Cup, I played here for 3 years. It would have been the perfect scenario, but cricket don't really do that. Where rugby, the All Blacks guys go play all over the world, and the sort of that year before a World Cup, they say, are you available? Do you want to play? The South African guys do that. The Springboks, a few of the Wallaby guys do it. They go, play in Europe and play in Japan. 6 months or so before the World Cup, the coach wants his best team available. So those guys have picked up experience in a different part of the world, and then they bring that to the table. So, I think if it ever could have happened, it probably was around the 2015 World Cup after playing here for 3 years. But I also understand why I didn't. The guys who had been there for the previous 2 or 3 years had put in all the work, and they had the chance to try and come and win the World Cup here.
Yeah, and they just fell one game short to be in the final. I guess you said, traveling around the world, you've played the BBL, you've played the IPL. Firstly, let's talk about the BBL. You're part of the, I think it was Hurricanes, Hobart Hurricanes. You're also part of Sydney Sixers and the Strikers. So 3 teams in the BBL. Yep. Tell us about your experience of the BBL.
Oh, BBL is a great tournament. To be part of. It's a good time of the year. I think, it's sort of, you get into this routine where, every night at about 6:40 or 7:10, there's a game on. So, if you're not playing the game, you're watching a game. So it's just a great time of the year. The crowds are unbelievable. The time that we could have crowds, it's sellouts. So, in the last couple of years, the tournament's got a bit long. So the crowds have started dropping off a little bit. But sort of those first 6 years of BBL, it was absolutely packed. The crowds were in every game. Every team could beat anyone, and on really good wickets. So, from a bowling point of view, you had to be on your game. Some really good players, some powerful hitters. Big Bash has been a great tournament. I've been lucky to play in, I think, 8 out of 9. I didn't play last year, but with those 3 teams, obviously different team makeups, different conditions. Adelaide was short square boundaries. SCG is big. Hobart was different. It's colder. There's always a short boundary because the guys don't always play in the middle of the square. So every team had its a few challenges, but I enjoyed my time with all 3 teams.
And now, currently, obviously, the IPL is happening. Some amazing matches happening in the IPL. You also applied your trade with Rajasthan Royals, Kolkata Knight Riders, and Delhi Daredevils. I think you were part of the squads there as well. So, how was your experience playing possibly the greatest T20 tournament in world?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, it is a really good tournament, but you must say that what strengthens the tournament is 4 internationals, where all other tournaments, BBL have only got 2 internationals. So it depends a lot more on your local players, where with IPL, you only need 7 local players. So that obviously adds to it. It makes it a strong tournament. And then you've got 4 guys on the bench, world-class players. So India were really clever with that. The young players learned from early on. Virat Kohli played with Callis, Boucher, Ross Taylor, Misbah, all those guys when he was 18 years old, and obviously that's lifted his game. And there's so many stories like that. Rohit Sharma, played with Gilchrist, Herschel Gibbs, all those guys. So, that's obviously been great for the Indian young guys, and the same continues to happen. The young guys that come in now immediately around world-class players. So I think they just get fast-tracked a bit quicker. And then, it's a little bit different when it's not quite in India. You want that whole, fanatical supporters, the home conditions, using that, playing in different venues, different soils. Jaipur is probably my favorite to play at. But it's different. And that's sort of what we're lacking at the moment, playing Dubai, away from home almost every game. UAE, the CPL was only in Trinidad, so you don't quite get that home advantage. You don't get your crowd behind you, but that's just the situation we're in at the moment. But IPL, it's right up there. I think it's some of the best cricket, but the PSL's right up there with it. I think PSL for me have got the best bowling groups in the world. It's the best bowling tournament out of any tournament because those Pakistani wickets are really flat. If you're off the mark there, you're going to get hurt as a bowler. So all the Pakistani bowling lineups in all those teams are very, very good. Yeah, but IPL is probably the all-round one. So yeah, there's some great tournaments, and then for me, CPL is probably the most power hitters. Guys who can hit the ball over the fence, and there's some guys that walk in at 8 and 9 that could still, hit 2 or 3 sixes in an over. So CPL is probably the batting one, the power hitting one, and then the PSL is the bowling one.
Bowling one, yep. Talking about PSL and CPL, you coached Karachi Kings, and obviously in the CPL, the Guyana Amazon Warriors had a record-breaking season a couple of years ago. Tell us about your coaching experience in these T20 franchise leagues.
Yeah, I was sort of, I wouldn't say lucky, but I had a nice start into it. I was still playing when I got my first year with Guyana. I think it was probably just a reference from someone, maybe someone I played against, or someone had watched me, and that's how it came about. And before that, I probably did a couple of years as an assistant coach with the PSL, and that's given me my start in coaching. So I've really enjoyed that. But I think now with travel restrictions and all of that and quarantines, it's becoming harder at those tournaments. Just as an example, the CPL I just went to, cricket was just under 4 weeks, and I was away from home for 9 weeks. So quarantine each side, that's already longer than the tournament. Then 5 days in New York to try and get a flight back to Australia. So I think that's going to test a couple, guys who, are they willing to stay that long away from home for only about 3.5 weeks of cricket? But yeah, we had some great experiences. Like you said, last year we had a really good run. Couldn't quite finish it off in the final, but something that we'll still remember. I know Trinidad went one better this year, but it was all at home for them. They played 12 home games, where we did it home and away last year, and it was a great experience. From picking the team in the draft, everything came together to get to that stage was great. I touched on a little bit with PSL, quality tournament, as good as any tournament. So it's been great to be part of that with different teams. Twice with as an assistant and once as a head coach. So yeah, that's all been great. But yeah, hopefully there's something a little bit more permanent. Probably around Australia where it's not so much traveling. It's closer to home, and something for more than 3 or 4 weeks at a time.
Yeah. Any ambitions moving forward for you, whether it's coaching or playing?
Playing's a hard one. I've sort of thought about in the last few weeks that I would like to give it a go again, but I haven't played in almost 2 years now, so it might be a little bit too long. Coaching wise, like I said, hopefully there's something a little bit closer to home. Some days I sort of think under 19 would be my ideal level, where you can still shape players a little bit more, like an Australian under 19 or one of the state under 19s. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a state assistant coach, something like that, but something closer to home. St. Peter's College in Adelaide, I've worked a little bit there in the past, and there might be a more permanent role starting term 1 next year, so that's an option. And then maybe once all the travel and stuff settles down again, a franchise tournament or 2 could be on the cards, but I think I need something a little bit more permanent, longer term with the team. You can shape players, you can see the progress. Where in a franchise tournament, you're basically just a manager. You just organize training, a little bit of tactics, game plan, and then the rest is just when do you train, how much you train to keep everyone fit, and the guys that's sort of on the fringe, the skill with them, how much do they train, when do they get a chance. And I must say with Guyana, we've sort of got into that very quickly. In the first 7 to 10 days, we've sorted all of that out, and then the rest of the tournament is sort of autopilot. You just make a couple of changes here and there, and the guys know their roles, and from there on, they just need to execute it.
Amazing. Is it all cricket for you at the moment, or are you doing anything else? Or?
I love running.
Yep.
So I've been doing quite a bit of running. Even during this year, I thought, maybe I should try and become like a semi-pro ultra runner. So yeah, I've been running quite a lot. I'm sort of looking for that something competitive to do once I stop playing. So yeah, I've been running quite a bit. I'm doing a race on Saturday, a trail race just outside Adelaide, which is a 60k race.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been good. I'm doing like a virtual run around Australia, which is called Run Down Under.
Wow.
And I've done about 10,700 Ks in just under 3 years. So I've got about 3,400 to go to get around, which is 14,080 kilometers. So that keeps me busy. You sort of get up every day and you tick a little bit off, which is great. I would say I'm probably the fittest I've ever been, even when playing or whatever. So, my body's good at the moment. I'm feeling good. And yeah, so hopefully I can keep improving as a runner. And, one of my big goals for next year is to try and run a sub 3 hour marathon.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
It's a big one. It will have to take a big effort. That will be 22 minutes off my PB. So, I thought not aim for 3:50, and I'm going to go all the way and try and aim for 3. And because there's not many who run under 3 hours. So that's a big goal for next year. Pick a race and then start like a 16-week block and hopefully get close to it.
I don't think I've driven as much as you've probably run. It's good that you talked about running. Does fitness play a huge part in terms of your makeup when you're coaching? Do you stress a lot on fitness?
Yeah, I think that's sort of what I bring to the table. That's what I do. That's what I've sort of pride myself on, and that's what I demand of my players. So players can't say, he's unfit and he doesn't do the work, but he expects us to do the work. At Guyana, I've run with my players. I've done yo-yo tests with them. I've done their fitness tests with them and run close to as much as they do. So, that's sort of what I expect for as long as I can do it. There's obviously got to be a turning point at some stage where you just don't have the leg speed anymore. Well, I know I've got the endurance to keep up with them, but their tests are short and the guys have got some leg speed. So that's sort of my goal at the moment, and for as long as I can do it, I'm going to try and do it. So yeah, it's definitely something that I focus on. But again, once again in franchise cricket, it's not always the main priority because you're just there to try and win the tournament. And I think cricket can get so much better at it. I think if you look at the soccer sort of system blueprint, you don't pay those big players without a medical. So I think in cricket we can get so much better. Guys arrive there. I've been in 6, 7, 8 franchise tournaments now, and guys arrived at 70% fit. They've got a niggle. The physio's got to spend hours on them. They miss games. Where Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't get the money he gets arriving half fit at Juventus.
Exactly.
So we definitely have to look into that at cricket. But in cricket, the skill covers it. Guys are not as fit as they should be. I've always had the comments, "You mad? Why do you run so much?" But I shouldn't be the fittest at 36 or 37 in the team. Where if you look at the other elite sports in the world, if you're not at peak performance, you get found out. So yeah, cricket skills always cover it. Guys are sort of 60-70% fit, but if they got great skills, that's good enough for coaches and for franchise teams and big names make it through it. They've got niggles, they hide sort of in the field and they can get away with it. But other sports that doesn't work. Ironman, elite swimmers, marathon runners, if you off by 5%, you're not competing on that day.
I guess that's where likes of David Warner, Virat Kohli, and Steve Smith, these guys prove a good example to all the young cricketers, because they don't let fitness be a second fiddle, I guess, and they put fitness as a prime focus for their performances. And like you said, at 36, 37, you still got a lot more legs to go forward. Fingers crossed you can get that sub 3 hour marathon. I've got some rapid fire round questions, if that's okay with you, Johan.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if someone had to define you in one word, what would that be?
Oh, it's 2 words, strong-minded.
Strong-minded. Who was your inspiration when it comes to cricket growing up?
Actually, it was 2 Australians, Mark and Steve Waugh.
Twins. Who is your current favorite cricketer?
See, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that one in a while. 2 or 3 years ago, A.B. de Villiers.
2 or 3 years ago. Okay. One cricketer's game you wish you had.
Pat Cummins.
What do you like to do away from cricket? Obviously, you said running. Is there anything else?
It's all around fitness stuff. Okay. Fitness and family, 2 Fs.
Perfect. Favorite South African cuisine?
Boerewors. That's a type of sausage.
Boerewors.
It's a type of sausage. Okay. Yeah.
Favorite and most talented player you have coached?
Nicholas Pooran.
One thing
and,
you would...
And Shimron Etmire.
Both West Indians in
the
IPL as well. One thing you would like to see change with men's cricket globally?
Medicals.
Medicals, yep, to prove.
Just touched on it.
Yep. Last question is one thing you cannot live without.
Running shoes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Johan. I appreciate your time. Thanks for running through us, your experience with South African cricket and being very, very honest and upfront about it. All the best with your coaching career and your running. Fingers crossed, when COVID eases up, you can get back to spending more time doing things you love and also spending time more with your family. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that.